Hello guys. You are on the channel Alice Reddit Stories. Enjoy watching. A woman finds the courage to leave her abusive husband. I've been on night shifts for the last 3 nights. The shifts this week have been rough. I work in an industrial environment, so I am filthy by the end of the shift and exhausted. I can also be pretty grumpy. I've also gotten into the habit of putting my phone on silent, so when I get home I can try to sleep better during the day. I got home this morning, fixed my husband's car's windscreen wiper. It had come loose during the drive home, and went inside. My husband had been drinking since before I got home, and first thing he said was, "I guess you didn't get my text." I checked my phone in front of him and noticed the message. He had sent it while I was fixing his car. He wanted me to go get him breakfast from one of the drive-thrus as well as grab a few other things from the shops. I was irritated by his request and said, in a not-so-nice tone, that I was tired from work and that he could just have something from the cupboard or the fridge. He got agitated, claiming that I read the text before I got home and ignored it because I'm lazy, then tried to make a point that there was nothing he could eat here and that he couldn't drive because he was drunk. I checked and we have food here. All he had to do was cook it, which I told him to do. After my shower he asked again for me to go get him food, and again I stated that I was tired and would be going to sleep right now. He angrily told me to get out of the lounge room and close the door. After I woke up this afternoon, I went to the shops and then made dinner. He won't talk to me and is refusing to eat what I have cooked. Admittedly, I feel a little guilty for refusing to get him anything this morning, or at least being kinda grumpy about it. Aita for refusing to at least go through the drive-thru to get him food. My husband, 39, and I, 34F, have been together for 14 years. We live in Australia. He is currently unemployed and I work full-time. Not sure if that is relevant or not. We have no kids. I have been sick the last 6 days with ongoing headaches, nausea/vomiting, and even had chills and a confirmed fever at one point. My husband hasn't really believed me, claiming I'm basically making a big deal out of nothing. He still went and got me painkillers, things I needed, and cooked dinner, so I was grateful for that and I felt like he was being supportive enough. I've been to the hospital 3 times in those 6 days. First time it was my GP's advice after I told her I had thrown up after getting my headaches. Husband dropped me off and picked me up. Second time was yesterday morning at 2 a.m. I drove myself cause my husband had been drinking. On top of headaches I had thrown up, had chills and hot flushes. Turns out I had a fever. I was given strong painkillers, an antibiotic and a tablet to stop any nausea, and sent home. I had my GP appointment after 12 p.m. that same day and they asked me to go back to the hospital for more testing. Asked my husband to drive me, which he tried to protest at first, but then did. He dropped me off and I told him I'd keep him informed about what's going on. From then I was given a COVID screen. Everyone has to be questioned before they get treated, different tests/scans, fluids, and asked lots of questions over a period of 5 hours. I was tired, stressed. My headache felt like it was getting worse. I had sunglasses on because the lights were hurting my eyes, and the doctors hadn't spoken to me about any results of the tests I had taken. The doctor eventually said that I should stay overnight for observations and that they were thinking about doing one more invasive test in the morning. They then gave me Panadol and End-1 for my headaches. Had been keeping my husband posted all day about the tests and what they were doing, and when they said overnight stay, I asked him to grab a few things for me and bring them up. There were a few things he needed to grab from the shops, but he said that was no problem. After 20 to 30 minutes I was in my room and the End-1 had kicked in. Even though the headache was slowly going away, I was starting feeling a little depressed about my situation and wanted to go home. Husband showed up about 30 minutes afterwards with my things for the night. I was in a private room, sitting up in bed, and there were plenty of chairs, but even after asking him to sit down he refused and was pacing around the room, investigating everything, and was organizing the things I already had with me, like my glasses and phone. I was grateful that he seemed to be caring about me, but when he was talking at me, not really to me, and didn't seem interested in holding a proper conversation at all. I felt touch-starved by this point. I had been poked and prodded a lot that day by nurses and doctors, all of them very nice people doing their jobs, but I just needed a hug. My husband always demands hugs from me at home, to the point of badgering, so I asked for one while I was sitting up in bed, said no. I was a bit shocked and asked again, trying to say please I really needed one after today, but I started choking up a bit near the end of my sentence. He said no again, then stated me tearing up wasn't going to make him change his mind. Everything had piled up on me by that stage, and I think under the influence of the end one I cried. He hugged me after I started crying but didn't apologize or offer any sympathetic words. He just said things like nothing's wrong, you're being a sook and this is why I don't see doctors. He did give me a hug before he left, once again no reassuring or comforting words, but I was so angry and sad because this is the first time since we've been together that I've ended up in the hospital for anything, and even though he brought me things I needed, I really needed him to be there as emotional support, and he waited until I was an emotional wreck to give that to me, and even then it was half-hearted. Felt so much better this morning, but was tired due to nurses checking in on my every 2 to 3 hours. I still have a headache, but it's much better now. When I spoke to the doctor, they seemed to suspected I had viral meningitis simply due to the symptoms I displayed. He explained that it was basically swelling of the membrane around the brain and that it takes a little over a week to recover from it, and that all the other tests looked good. They opted out of the other test, which would have been painful, gave me a script for strong painkillers, and then discharged me with orders to lie down and relax at home. I got my husband to pick me up. Soon as we got home, he started hounding me to do cat litter, which I understand needs to be done, but I was still tired with a headache that was now growing again and said I'd do it later on. He then tried to berate me about it, so I told him to back off and that I literally just got out of hospital and have been told to lie down. To which I was told I was just being lazy. Then he tried to make me make him breakfast as he was tired because he was up all night. Once again told him no and that I was going to have a rest and explained about the nurses. Once again he said I was just being lazy. He even asked me if I was going to cook dinner tonight, after I had woken from a nap. I said no, I'd do it tomorrow, to which he mumbled something under his breath before he cooked dinner for us both anyway. Once again he seems to think I over-exaggerated my headaches and claims I wasn't sick at all. This relationship has always been very far from perfect. We both have our flaws. But I always thought he'd be there for me during something like this, but I feel like he's proved me wrong. I'm not sure I even want to stay married anymore. If I did break things off, I wouldn't even know where to start. Would it be wrong for me to leave over something like this? Am I overreacting? Or was I being too needy or expecting too much from him? I just need an outside perspective on this. I'm just writing this on my own page, just as an update for anyone who may have seen my Ida and relationship advice post a couple of years ago. I deleted the Ida posts when I was with my husband as, at the time, I was worried he'd find out about it and blow up at me. Last year I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and was sent to counseling sessions. I was debating with myself about leaving my husband during the sessions, even had some measures in place. But it was after my birthday that I decided I needed to leave for my own mental health. On the day I had just finished night shift, showered, at work, and opened a new bank account. When I got home I put some things into my car, and as I was working myself up to go talk to him, he opened the lounge room door and I told him I was leaving. Had this little speech that I had typed out earlier that night, but it all went out the window, and as hard as I tried I cried. He didn't yell or anything. Didn't try to stop me from leaving, so I got the rest of the things I needed and left. I went to my dad's place first, told him and his GF, then I rang my sister to let her know what was going on. I tried to have a nap at my dad's. Really, I just wanted to be left alone until I could go to my friend's place. When I eventually got to my friend's, she gave me a hug, and most of the next few days were a blur. I don't think I really left the bedroom that much. My friend and her husband told me I could stay as long as I needed, as my dad and his GF have a toxic relationship. I stayed there for a month before renting my own place. During that month my ex and I talked. He wanted to get back together and admitted to me that he was on meth. Side note, he had used it in the past and I forgave him and he stopped using it. I stupidly believed him as he had gained weight and appeared normal, but looking back there were signs. When he was begging for us to get back together, I said I'd only consider it if we went to a marriage counselor, which he refused, saying that we could be each other's counselors, that we can try for a baby, no more waiting, that my friends convinced me to leave him, he's told all his friends and family this, and that we can just focus on each other. He had a list of the things that we can focus on. It was heartbreaking. Everything I wanted was on the list. I wanted kids. I wanted him to be proactive. I wanted him to be the person I fell in love with, but I knew that this was all just him trying to manipulate me. Which hurts to know. He kept the cat in the end. I did ask if he wanted to keep her. She's registered in his name, so I couldn't just take her with me. I have come to terms with the fact that he was abusive towards me. I know I'm no saint, but the way he dealt with his anger towards me was not healthy in any way. Unfortunately, my depression and anxiety has gotten worse and I was diagnosed with PTSD after a workplace accident, a story for another time, and have been having some health issues that I'm working through. Right now I feel like I'm at a crossroad and I need to choose which path I want to take. Once I get my divorce and the house is sold, I won't have anything holding me back anymore. Look forward to that day. TLDR, I left my husband and am looking forward to the future. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. There are many interesting stories ahead of you.